All right, everyone. Welcome back. Another episode of No Bull with Noble. This is episode 13. So we're over the 3-month mark right now, which is kind of exciting. I'm happy about that. Just keep going, and we're hoping to do 300 more at least. So
Wow.
yeah. So again, if you're liking the podcast, please subscribe, give us a like, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, give us 5 stars, whatever. I would really, really appreciate that. But anyway, today we have a very close friend of mine, Mr. Matthew Bogoroch, on the podcast. Matt, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm pumped to be here.
Of course, you're an inspiration to me. So
You too.
Needed you to come on the podcast and speak a little bit about what you do. And for those who know and don't know, Matt has a company called Bird's Eye Inc. And I won't get too much into it. I'll let you sort of explain about the company. But I like to bring on people who have started their careers and sort of built up to owning their own companies and figuring out their own business and whatever. And you're also a repeat client of mine, so we'll get into that as well, and working with me and the challenges and success stories that we've had. So I guess we can, we'll talk
Let's do it.
We'll talk about your company, how you started, and what gave you that vision, because it's so hard for people to start a company and we've spoken with this, take that leap and really dive into it. But for you to be so young and you were working a couple jobs at the same time, and I don't want to get you get into it. You talk about the company, and
we'll jump right in. I'll tell you a bit about it. So I guess just first starting off about starting a company, not for the faint of heart. It is probably the most difficult thing I've ever done to date. There's a million different things you're responsible for. But if you are considering going down the entrepreneurial journey, the first thing I would tell you is be obsessed with the problem that you're trying to solve. The big problem with a lot of startups today, especially in the tech scene, is that you might have a great solution to something or you have great features for a product, but unless you're solving a problem that people are really upset about, or it's a frustration and a pain point for them, you're not going to get any traction. And I had actually made that mistake early on when we first started the company. So Bird's Eye is an e-commerce technology platform, and it's a software as a service type of model. So we sell software on a monthly basis. And what the software does is it simplifies marketing. And what I mean by that is we've developed patent pending machine learning algorithms that take in all of e-commerce data from Shopify, which is one of the main e-commerce platforms, and all the common marketing apps like Facebook, Instagram, Google, TikTok, Pinterest, any common marketing app that somebody would use, brings all that data under one roof and gives a marketing manager, an e-commerce owner, actionable insights on what they should be doing for their business. So when they log into our application, they get 3 recommendations every single week with exact directions on what to do. So essentially what it'll tell them is focus on these products. Focus on these 3 products because we're predicting that this week they're going to be selling really well. And why that's important is because if you're running an online store or an online business, you might have a lot of different SKUs or products, individual products. You don't know what to market at the exact point in time. Every single product on the store is going to be seasonal in its own regard. It's going to be selling really well one week, maybe a little bit slower another week. We've simplified that. It knows exactly to the date when each product is going to sell well. So it tells you every day when you log in, focus on this product. It tells you what product to focus on, who to target it to, which geographies to advertise it in, how to price it properly so it understands elasticity, and which advertising channels are optimal at this point in time and for that specific product. So if you're advertising on a wide variety of different advertising channels, it simplifies that. And a lot of brands, it's really important to connect with their customers on social media. It automates their entire content calendar. That's extremely powerful if you're an e-commerce founder and owner, because you have a million things going on. Just like the founder of any other tech company or any business out there, you have a million things going on that you have to focus on. Being able to log into the app and just see everything you need to do with evidence, how much money you're going to generate from this opportunity, is extremely valuable. And the reason, it took a long time for us to get there. And the reason we did it is because we had first started off by just looking at how ad spend was correlated to revenue and where these businesses could better spend their money. But it wasn't enough of a problem. When you're dealing with e-commerce brands, they have to kind of go into different channels simultaneously to get as much of an audience as possible. So we'd kind of misidentified at the very onset like what that pain point was. But through tons of customer interviews with all different founders across the industry, from beauty and cosmetic companies, jewelry companies, apparel companies, you name it, they kept saying, it's like, we have so many different products. What do we actually focus on? That gave us then the idea to really go out and build this company. And we said, okay, we're going to do it marketing from end to end. So not only do we tell you like which channels to focus on for your advertising, we're telling you the entire marketing life cycle, from deciding what product to promote and giving you the instructions on how to best promote it at the right time.
So how did you come up with this idea? Because, like you said, you had to find a solution to a problem, and you think about these companies and dealing with marketing, but were you working for a company that did this sort of stuff, and then you're like, I can see a problem with how this is being used? Or did it come sort of out of nowhere where you kind of thought, like, this is something that would be beneficial for marketing companies?
That's a good question. I think when you're trying to come up with these ideas, you have to have like some personal experience with the problem. So when I'd started my career after university, I'd gone into management consulting, did quite a bit of work in retail, and a lot of the problems that I've been describing have been pervasive in the industry. But, those problems were typically really for the really big companies, like Fortune 100 retailers, where they had, thousands of employees handling marketing related initiatives, managing a P&L, budgeting out how much they want to spend. They have massive teams doing that, whereas the small businesses don't. So you realize like, okay, there's a need for this in the industry. Big businesses all do it, but small businesses don't have access to that type of technology or sophistication. So when we started thinking about the idea, we knew it was a pain point now. And we started doing all of our research and speaking to customers, a lot of interviews, like ask them tough questions from, does this make sense to you? Like, what are your big pain points? What's your willingness to pay for something like this? That's how we kind of came up with the idea. Like, we had the rough sense, like, there's a problem out here. As small, medium-sized businesses or SMBs don't have access to this type of software. They need a lot of direction and hand-holding versus like the, massive enterprise has massive workforce.
Tons, yeah.
So, through these interviews, you were able to really understand what that pain point was and then come up with the idea, formulate it, go back to them. Does this make sense? Put a team together. So it's not so, you can't just start it in 2 seconds. You have to design it. You have to hire engineers to help you build it. You have to do a ton of testing. You have to establish partnerships with like all the different data sources that you get. And I mean, by partnerships, like going to Facebook and Google and applying for all of the licensing to be able to house data, and there's cybersecurity that's involved. So there's a ton of infrastructure that goes in to building these companies. So when we were thinking of the idea, it wasn't just, we had to fall in love with the problem, be obsessed with it. And we knew that it was a problem. We were working on this every single day for big companies, but then also map out, it's like, how do we actually go and do this? And there's a lot under the hood that usually is glossed over.
Yeah. So when you started the company, obviously there's a certain point where you need to start hiring people. And when you're developing this, like, did you develop it by yourself and then found out that, maybe there needs to be a point where I need to start hiring people? Or did you know you had to hire people from the start to start building this, and then you went from there? Because, a lot of people will start the company, they'll start to do it on their own and then branch it out, or like, but then there's sometimes where someone has a company, they know they need to, okay, I got to hire, 5 people to start off, and then you all bring your ideas together. Was that like, did you start by yourself? Did you start with people, or like, how did it all come to fruition?
I don't take any solo credit for this. So I co-founded the company alongside my brother, actually, Adam, and my former colleague at KPMG, Shardul, who acts as the CTO. So Adam's the COO and Shardul's the CTO. The 3 of us came together to discuss the problem. This is way before we ever put any like pen to paper. We were just having, open dialogue about what's going on in the e-commerce space or retail in general. Like, we knew what the pain point was. And then the 3 of us got together. That's when we started doing those interviews and meeting with different customers. Like, we were asking for connections to anyone we could get a hold of if they had an e-commerce store, so we could talk to them. And then the 3 of us got together, many, many hours of scoping it out. So going through, it's like, okay, what type of people do we need to hire to bring this to life? And you needed UI UX designers to actually design the app. You needed front-end engineers to be able to take those UI UX designs, like I mean like the diagrams of the app, like what it looks like, what you actually interact with as the end user, take those designs and actually code it. And then you need a back-end engineer to actually make the front end work. Does that make sense how I'm explaining? Like there's the back end, which is like all the code, and the front end is what you actually interact with an app. So you have all these different skill sets that need to come together. And then you also need a machine learning engineer because you're developing the algorithms that's going to make, all of the marketing insights and recommendations available. So there are many, many different skill sets involved. And then on the operations side, you're dealing with customer service, onboarding, like sales too. It's not just something that somebody buys off the shelf. Like this requires like a demo and having a conversation about what their business is, like how Bird's Eye would fit and solve that problem for them. So there's a lot that goes on the ops side. And don't forget finance, accounting, managing all of this. Even what I was alluding to before was cybersecurity. Like when you're housing a lot of data and you're getting data from Facebook and like all the big providers and Shopify, you have to secure it. And you have to have the right servers and infrastructure to make sure that, one, it works really quickly, but two, it's safe.
Yeah, I guess that's super important. And I mean, finding these people to do this, like for me, I'm not the kind of person that would ever be able to do this kind of thing because I wouldn't know where to start. Like for me to find, would I have thought to hire a front end developer, a back end developer, a UX designer, UI, like that's a lot of people to sort of manage and figure out. And did you find that it was difficult when you first started because you had never started a company before, you had never run a business, and you have to, you have all these other people that you have to manage? Was it something that you found difficult to, I know you had your brother, you had Shardul to help you out with that, but being able to manage everybody and figure out, staying on top of them and this is what everyone's doing. Like, let me make sure it's all working well. Like, is that something that you struggled with when you started, or was it something that you I guess have a natural thing for? Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a natural thing at all. It was definitely a struggle. Like you said, it's like a first time, like big entrepreneurial venture. I actually did do something when I was younger. When I was 15, believe it or not, I was involved in the e-commerce space. We'd been cleaning up the basement in my parents' house, and we discovered like all of our old Pokemon cards. Remember back in the day collecting all of those cards?
In the binder and like
we had binders full of those shiny Pokemon cards, and I was 15 years old at the time. It was over the summer. Just got back from camp, and my mom was like, we should get rid of these. I said, these are probably worth a fortune. These are from like the 90s or early 2000s. Let's see what they're worth. Go on eBay, and I find that we have like one card that's worth like $300-400. And I bet you now it's worth like 2,000. Yeah. Because like Pokemon's had a crazy boom. But as we realized there's a market for it, so we opened up an online store, which was very rudimentary at the time because I don't know, what year was that? We were 15 years old.
I don't know. It's like probably 10, 8 years ago.
Yeah, over 10 years ago. So 12 years ago. So I opened up a very rudimentary store, found suppliers of Pokemon cards because they were hot at that time. So we actually we registered a company, started buying these cards, and then opened a marketplace online. We're doing really well. And in 1 month, we'd done about $6,000 in revenue, which I know is not
crazy. No, that's not crazy.
No, it's not crazy money. Like
selling Pokemon cards.
Selling Pokemon cards. You're in
$6,000.
$6,000. I remember I bought a PlayStation 3 at the time. I cashed out. I was getting money through PayPal. When I bought a PS3
at 15 years old.
I was 15 years old. I started selling e-com, and even back then there was a ton to manage because I was doing digital ads at the time. I was doing digital ads for it. I was writing in messaging boards saying like, we have like all the new stock and supply, which was like totally ridiculous. I was getting it. I found a wholesaler in Mississauga.
Okay.
So I was buying it for them, shipping it to my house, and then finding new customers, dealing with them. I was shipping all over the world. I remember shipping in a big order to Norway. Okay. Which was cool. The shipping was a fortune. I think I'd mispriced that. Probably lost a little bit. Okay. But you learn from those mistakes.
Yeah, when you're making $6,000 in a month, that's
crazy. It grew really fast. I think overall the venture did about 25,000 roughly before we shut it down. Being in high school, a lot of
over how long?
Just a few months. It was doing really, really well.
I think you should have just kept it.
Maybe
you could have been
but-
like the Pokemon God, like one of those like Logan
Maybe
Paul.
I had those Charizards that Logan Paul had, where he holds it up in his videos.
It's worth like $1 million, like $3 million, something crazy like that. I don't know. That could have been you. I think starting this bird's eye business was a bad call. I think you should have been a
Pokemon game.
professional Pokemon trader, right? And then as soon as Pokemon Go started, you can.
Oh yeah,
it's
Pokemon
like
Go was big.
That would have been the boom for you. That would have been like your peak of.
I know.
Business,
I was maybe
right?
just too early. Maybe I was too early to the market,
But that's insane. Being able to generate that much money in such a short period of time. If you think about that, the average person, that's half of their salary, and you're making that just buying and selling Pokemon cards.
Well, that was my first introduction to DTC, direct to consumer, like as a concept in selling online and e-commerce, and I loved it. It was fun. It was really, really fun. I just, at the time, I guess I didn't have. I was 15. I didn't have the experience or skill to really scale it forward. And now with Bird's Eye, since we're servicing, small, medium-sized e-commerce companies, I have an understanding of where their skill gaps are. Because I'd been in their position. And what we've done is tried to make Bird's Eye as much of a tool that simplifies their life. Like, there is a lot going on with running that company. If we just add structure, that was the problem. I didn't have structure. I was 15. I was running around trying to do this business. Had to get help from my parents, like even register with HST and get the business license. At 15, I don't think you can even open one. I think you need a guardian or something. But, we created this app that makes running an e-commerce business as seamless as possible and adds structure, because that's what a lot of companies lack. Even internally now, it's like, running a startup, something that I'm myopically focused on right now is adding structure, because everything else is just chaos. You're running around without a specific goal or KPI that you're monitoring.
What's a KPI?
Key performance indicator. Okay. It could be anything relative to your business. Like an e-commerce KPI, for example, is average order value. So for every transaction that goes through your business, what's like the average dollar value associated? And businesses use that to track, like, are we growing the AOV? That needs to keep going up, so they can, they could do it through cross-selling opportunities or upselling. They want to see that people are spending more on average over time. You don't want it going down.
And is yours a subscription service, or is it a one-time payment, or is it free?
For Bird's Eye?
Yeah.
So it's every single month you'd pay for the service.
Okay.
It's a monthly. It's a software. Yeah. Software as a service model.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel like that's the norm now. Like before, it was you pay a certain price and you have the product, and now I feel like the subscription service is such a better, just like a better plan, because it locks them in for a period of time, and it generates, I guess, small, I won't say passive income, but it's small income for you that generates every month compared to all the other companies. So when you started, I'm sure you started with maybe 1, 2, 3 companies. Like, how far has it grown in such a short while?
So we launched the company in September. Mid-September, it became like commercially available. We'd done a beta for about a year, like ironing out all the bugs and kinks, making sure that it was perfect. Launched it in September, and we are on 4 continents now. Like we speak to customers across the entire world. Like some nights I'm up till like 2 o'clock in the morning because I've calls in Australia.
That's crazy.
Australia, that's an interesting market just because of the time zone. It's really, really difficult to operate in. So it's not really like our customer acquisition strategy right now to go after Australia. But just through, word of mouth, we've just somehow penetrated into the Australian market. We started with one company who had reached out to us, done well with them, and then they had referred a few other businesses. And we had actually worked with an agency that loved our software, like an advertising agency. So now we have quite a footprint in Australia, and those calls are pretty late at night.
I think you got to start opening up a Bird's Eye in Australia, just like
down under, yeah,
Bird's Eye down under. That'd be hilarious, right? Like get something there, because if you're gonna grow your business there, I mean, listen, I can't sell real estate in Australia, but being able to find an office down there, even have just one person running it.
That's not true. You have to think big. A global brokerage.
I know, but
you're gonna have Ryan Noble Real Estate in Australia.
I got to get my license down there. I would love to go to Australia. Never been. Would love to go down there. My license unfortunately is only for Ontario. So, but yeah, I think if you were to open up a Bird's Eye Australia, maybe I'll come work for you. I don't know. Maybe that's the next plan. But it would be good, have someone there just as a rep to deal with phone calls and strategy and whatever. But
absolutely, yeah. Maybe there's like an opportunity to work with somebody like an offshore like virtual assistant or something that's closer to those hours. But, we're still at the stage where I kind of have my hands in everything. So I'm not ready to, relinquish those.
Yeah, I know.
Those reins.
Couple years from now, maybe.
Yeah. I really don't mind. It's like, for me, I'm learning so much too, just being able to converse with customers in different markets. Like, everyone has a slightly different value from the service. So just being able to interview them and speak to them, see how it's helping, really important.
That's really good. Like, being able to do that and stick with it. Like you said, working those late nights till 2 a.m. Like, people don't realize that that's what it takes. They think that, you can just start up a business and hire a bunch of people and that's it. But managing a bunch of people is so difficult. And I know even for us, like in real estate, it's sort of the same thing. Once you have a team, for me, I'm just working for myself right now, but being able to manage like 4, 5, 6 other realtors, and some have teams of like 30, 40, it's essentially the same, right? You're running your own business because you're dealing with people who are trying to buy real estate, and those clients, like you have, or I guess you're the people who work on your team, you have an expectation of a certain level of experience and a certain level of drive and motivation, right? Like, because we can go out and essentially work on our own, it's one thing, right? People don't have the team mindset sometimes, but I guess similar to yours, once you can develop that, once you can hire or deal with people who are fit for your type of business or your team, is like, I'm sure it makes it so much easier because you have people who are trying to help you and trying to support your company. Because hiring people who may not have the right mindset, you could hire the best back-end developer, but if they don't have the same mindset of like, I see this company growing, they might not be the best person for you. But if you hire someone who fits, and I'm sure you have, where everyone on your team, like you said, you've mentioned there are a couple of people who have really brought the business to that next level because they have the mindset that you're going to do better and your company's going to grow into one of the largest companies, I hope, one of the largest,
that's the plan.
One of the largest e-commerce companies in the world, global. Yeah.
Well, I think you said it really well. And, I couldn't have done it without Adam and Shardul. Like, we share a collective vision for where we want the company to go. Everyone has like their work stream or like what their responsibilities are. They do it incredibly, incredibly well. And then we have the best possible support. Like the people who work with us at Birdseye, they share in our vision as well. And I think that's really important for anyone who's looking to work at a startup. These are not massive corporations. This isn't a company with 1,000 employees, HR departments, finance departments.
Not yet.
Yeah, exactly. Not yet. When you're joining a startup, you have to buy into the vision. It's like, this is sick. This is what I want to be a part of. Like, I understand why we're building this, why it's solving a problem. Because what I said before, don't build a company unless it really solves a problem.
Right.
We learned that early on with the interviews. We're not going to build something or release a feature unless it's solving a problem. You have to be obsessed with the problem. All we think, like, I go to bed every single day thinking about the problem that we're trying to solve and how I can keep doing it better. But the people that come and work at the startup, they have to think the same way. Like, I'm building the software or whatever type of company because I want to do X, Y, and Z. So we've been really careful with the people that have joined our team. Like, in our interview process, it's not just a technical interview. It's a lot of getting to know them, like why they actually want to work in the company and seeing if it's a good fit that way. But overall, I feel extremely blessed to have the team that I do.
Yeah.
And my co-founders. So been a really good journey.
That's good. And I'm sure part of your success is also, having a fantastic office to work in. So like I said earlier, Matt is one of my repeat clients. I've found both of his offices for the company. Yeah, I just wanted to touch a little bit on the experience, and because I haven't really had anyone here who has been a client of mine. And just going back to the first day when we started, I guess we'll just have like a discussion on how that started, because it was one of my first deals that I did. I think my first deal.
The
first deal that I ever did was with you, and it was a commercial deal, which is, I don't know, it's kind of funny because I'm going in thinking I'm going to be a residential only, and needed a commercial deal, and honestly, I really enjoyed it. Now I can say that I do both. If you need something that's residential, you need a commercial space, like I'll do all of that because I've dealt with the challenges of finding a commercial space and the things that go along with it. And yeah, so I guess we'll talk about what happened when you reached out. First of all, why did you reach out to me?
So I think you've said this on the podcast before. How many agents in the city are there in Toronto?
Like 70,000. Yeah.
There's 70,000 agents.
Just Toronto.
So Ryan, I reached out to you because I trust you. I know you, and I knew that you would work hard and take it really seriously and really try and help us. So just for like the listeners' context, Birds Eye was looking for an office space. It's our first space. There's about 5 people at the time. We're now 6 that needed somewhere to work and meet every single day. We were kind of against like the hybrid model when you're in like this early startup mode. We need to really be boots on the ground. And, I trusted Noble entirely, called him up and I said, these are some of our specifications. Do you think you can help me? It wasn't even 24 hours later where we were already viewing a space. He was on it in 2 seconds. Literally, while on the call, he was already setting everything up for us, got our listings. We took a look like that afternoon. The next day, he had already contacted the agent. We went that next afternoon and signed the lease. The whole process was like 3 days. Unbelievable. We saw, 5 or 6 places?
Yeah, and the only reason we saw 5 or 6 is because, there was the one that you guys really liked, which you ended up taking. But, I said you have to go and see these other places because this one might be good, but one of the other ones might be better suited for your company. And yeah, we went out, we saw 5 that day. And actually, no, I think we saw like 3 or 4. And then the next day, there were 2, but it was the Rogers blackout. I remember you guys couldn't make it.
Oh yeah, and it was the Rogers blackout. You filmed for us.
I filmed because I went by myself. I couldn't meet anybody there. I took the videos and I was like super anxious because, for those who don't live in Canada, we had a blackout where, basically like the whole Rogers is the biggest, company for. Like cell phones and whatever. So there was no service for maybe like 12 hours, I'd say it was. Like you couldn't message anybody. You couldn't text.
That's crazy.
Wi-Fi wasn't working. Like some people were going to, I remember there's a Starbucks like here across the street from my office. And I'm not even kidding you. There were about 60 people standing outside on their cell phones using the Starbucks Wi-Fi because they couldn't message anybody else.
Would have been a great ad for Bell. Just show people outside Starbucks. Bell Network.
Yeah, and I remember going out and we decided on that one place and we took a look and that was a really good spot.
It was a fantastic office space. And while we're on the topic, Ryan had mentioned that he actually went to film, so we weren't accessible. Like we couldn't actually coordinate at that point. We had no idea what was going on with the showing. He still went to the showing despite having no cell phone coverage or any means to communicate. Showed up there, filmed, even did a voiceover about the pros and cons. And that was just, extremely beneficial to us. It helped with the decision-making process, and it was appreciated. And also for the people listening, like it wasn't a massive deal. Like this isn't a multi-million-dollar real estate lease that we were signing for like 10 years in a big office building. He treated it that way though. He treated it as it's a massive deal. He did everything he can to speak to the other side, negotiate a really fair price for us. We got an incredible deal. We probably had the best deal in the entire building.
The best deal in the building for sure.
And in the area. Yeah. So I'll give some context. That lease that we signed, it was our first office space. What was it, 5 or 6 months?
It was 6 months.
6 months. It was a 6-month contract. We were subtenants for another company that had gone fully remote. We were paying. He was able to negotiate a deal which was so under market. We had to sign it, even though it was kind of annoying to move in and then move out. That 6 months were so worth it because he found us at like 1,400 square feet.
I think it was around. No, I think it was a bit. I think it was
anywhere
1,200 something. Like that.
It was massive for 5 people. Think about the size. For 5 people sitting in desks, it was massive. We got this incredible space. It came with the pool table. It was like all the startup vibes.
No spike ball though.
There was no spike ball, so we had the space for it though, thanks to you. And you found us that great space. We were in there for 6 months, and then we were repeat customers. We call after when our lease was coming to an end, Ryan found us another great office. And
just down the street too.
Just down the street, yeah.
Yeah, it worked out. And that was through a connection of mine as well. So it worked out really well. And now you guys are, you can tell me if you're happy or not in that space. I'm sure you are.
It's a great space. Yeah, we're really happy.
Yeah, I have to come. I haven't taken a look yet. I have to come and
come on by.
It's because you started in the beginning of January and like I broke my wrist. So haven't really been able to drive too much, but I knew that it comes off in a week. So
okay, in a week you should come by.
In a week I'll come by. We'll go for Popeyes and grab some chicken sandwiches.
Yeah, it's right above, guys. It's at Yonge and Eglinton, right above the Popeyes.
But it's a great spot.
It's a great
location.
building,
Just being able to get in there. Like, have you found it challenging to fit everybody in there? Because I know that the structure is a little bit different.
No, it's the best possible structure. So the way that it's laid out is there's 5 interior offices and a common area and like a little lunch area. It's perfect. Everyone has their space. We have like a little open working, like a co-working type of space if people want to collaborate and sit beside each other. And then everyone has their individual office.
I think it's important to build a good work environment for yourself too. Like, doesn't matter what kind of business you're in, right? Like, for you starting your own company, like, I'm sure you need to look for somewhere that can fit everybody, can have enough space where people can breathe, and then also having that good work environment where people want to come into the office, people want to go and enjoy themselves when they're working. And I guess it's similar to me, but it's not really office related. I guess it's home related, right? When I'm looking for people to find a house to live in, that's what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for somewhere where I can envision them and going in and living that, I want to say quote unquote dream house, but somewhere where they're going to enjoy themselves for years to come. And hopefully, when you go and purchase your first house, you'll come to me too. You can be my first commercial and residential.
Ryan, am I your first repeat customer?
You're my first repeat customer, and I'm not going to say you're my favorite client because all my clients are my favorite clients. I don't have anyone that I favor above the rest, but maybe best looking for now. But
I'll take it. If I'm not the favorite, at least I'm the best looking, right?
Exactly. No, I don't know. I treat everyone the same, and honestly, it's been good. Like, it's been a pleasure to work with you guys too. Like,
absolutely.
As much as it was easy to work with me, it was easy to work with you guys. Like, I made it easy because as soon as I'm feeling comfortable with my clients, and we can again bounce ideas off of each other. This is what I think works. This is what I think doesn't work. It makes the deal so much faster. Like I said, that first deal we got done in less than a week.
3 days.
Yeah, it was less than a week. We were, we saw the place, signed it, got it sent back, like moved everything in, and
it was kind of complicated. It was your first deal, and there was a lot of moving pieces. There was furniture removal, there was cleaning that had to be negotiated into the lease. It was also for like a fixed duration of time, like a small duration of time. So it wasn't exactly a straightforward boilerplate type of thing. So great job there.
Yeah, I mean, commercial deals are generally difficult, but yeah, for that one, yeah, you like I said, you guys made it easy, and we got it through. And like, even finding this next place was, I'd say, just as easy. Yeah. Like, cause I showed you this place when it was like off market, and you came and you took a look at it. You thought, okay, like maybe there's a chance. And then we went to go look at some other places, and we realized, we went back like 2 weeks later, I think it was. I went with your brother, and he took a look, and it turns out that was the one that we wanted to put a deal on, and we figured some stuff out and pulled some strings, and
it worked.
You guys are happy now, yeah?
Oh yeah, we're thrilled.
That's good.
Look, I spend more time in that office than my own condo. I'm in the office 5 or 6 days of the week. There almost every single day, maybe not Sunday, but I spend the majority of my time there now. I have to be comfortable. We have like a great little couch area.
Oh yeah.
We have a fridge. We're comfy there. We have a small TV, so we've set it up really nicely, and then obviously all of our workspaces. But it's an awesome spot that I'm thankful to have, and it's been a huge benefit for the company.
Yeah, and I'm sure you would definitely recommend me again, because I'm probably the best agent that you've ever had. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but
you're pretty good.
I'm sure good. It's good because a lot of people, like I say, when you first start real estate, I say you can't trust your friends, you can't trust your family, because you don't know, those people may have someone in real estate. They don't want to come to me and use me, but there are a lot of times where in your case, you had that trust in me before, and then came to me and I got the job done, because this could have not ruined our relationship, but I guess if I didn't do a good job or I didn't meet your satisfaction, like it's tough, right? Because
there's risk on both sides.
There's risk on both sides, right? Like I need to put my best foot forward, and the fact that I was able to build that trust for you to come to me and we were able to get that deal done is probably so much better than you finding somebody else and it working, because now our relationship as friends has grown, and now the whole word of mouth thing, like it's like you would now recommend me to our other friends, right? Because I've heard stories of people's own parents, brothers, sisters who got their real estate license, and then those people didn't use them. They used someone else because they didn't trust that person. And it's real. You hear it all the time.
Maybe it's not trust. Maybe they don't want to have a mix between it. And like you said, have any impact on a relationship. But I've known you for more than a decade. We've been friends for more than a decade.
Has it been more than a decade?
Yeah, it's been more than a decade. Pretty crazy. But, I had no doubt in my mind that you were going to work really hard at it. And you're just started as an agent too. I knew you're 100% you're up to the job and you're going to work as hard as you possibly can to make it go through. You did it in 3 days. It was faster. I was like, okay, maybe this will take us like 2-3 weeks to find a place. It was literally 24. Well, I told you within 24 hours, we actually found the spot we wanted. But by the time we like put the offer through and get everything going, it was like 3 days. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
We booked it, got it done.
Yeah.
It was quick. But yeah, no, that's, I want to thank you too for gaining that trust in me, because like I said, it's super tough. I've had other people speak to me. They've asked me like, what's worked for you in real estate? And that's what it is, just building the connections and earning people's trust. I think that's the thing for both of our businesses too, right? Like for you, reaching out to other companies, other marketing companies, and especially even your own employees, and having those people come in and say, okay, yes, I'm all in on this job. And for you, yeah, it's like I'm willing to pay for Birdseye to like essentially run my marketing business. So that's good, because you can transfer the I don't want to say the skill, but the understanding of bringing everything together and having those people come to you and trust you, but also you doing your own marketing itself to get yourself out there. Are you doing marketing? Like, are you paying for your own are you using your own company to push your own marketing, or are you doing your marketing by cold calling and talking to other companies?
Good question. So obviously our software is designed to advertise the best possible way. With B2B advertising, which is what we're doing, is a little bit different than e-commerce advertising.
What is B2B advertising?
So advertising to another business, business to business, versus like an e-commerce is you're an e-commerce business, you're advertising to a consumer. So it's a different model. So that's really easy to go on. I shouldn't say easy. It's like what the strategy would typically be for a B2C model for like a consumer good. Let's just say it's Zara advertising, for example. They're going to go on Facebook and they're going to go on Google, Instagram, TikTok, like all of the traditional channels where they're trying to reach a consumer market. They're going to go and launch digital ads. They might do out of home too, which is like the bus stops that you'd see, billboards, things like that, radio, everything. And they have like, they can talk about sales or product selection. Software advertising is very different. And what a lot of tech companies do is we focus on brand awareness. So we have a different conversion target in mind than a B2C company. They're trying to get someone to add something to cart and then check out. We're just trying to get our name out there. And the reason why we're trying to do a lot of brand awareness, because one, there's no cart for you to add software. It's like you sign up. But the reason why we have to do brand awareness is because of outbound emails or when we cold call or even referrals. So when we have a lot of brand awareness and I email you or I call you up. So if I called you on the phone, say I'm Matt from Birdseye, you're like, oh, I've actually seen that company before. Same thing we were talking about, even before we started this podcast, like when you're a real estate agent, canvassing and introducing yourself to a neighborhood and giving your flyers and things like that. So when you do call them, they know who you are, like the prospect of
It's client. A familiar face, yeah.
Exactly.
Or a familiar company, yeah.
So for us, it's really about building up a brand name and getting, I want to join this podcast, talk about the company and, chat with you and sit down with you. And we're just trying to educate the market of like, hey, we're here, we're Birdseye, this is what we do. We help you make more money. We're a revolutionary product on the market. And then when we approach them, we do a lot of cold email. So when we're emailing companies, there's familiarity. And with that, just going back to talking about our advertising, digital is important for sure because you can just reach a ton of people, like LinkedIn ads, for example, for on the software side. But paid partnerships, like if you sponsor a podcast that your target market for your software is listening to, is really good.
Just to be clear, this was not a paid.
No,
not a paid.
This was not paid.
I got his coffee. That's
He did. He got me coffee. So
yeah, that's good. So I interrupted the.
No, point, I think that's what I had to say.
So I'm gonna leave you with I guess one more question, if that's fine. Is what's next for Birdseye?
So right now we're at the most critical point. We've developed our software. We're in the middle of like our go-to-market. We actually just hired an account executive to help us with sales. So I'm usually on the phone every single day pitching companies on our software, demoing it, helping them with their marketing. And now we've just hired somebody else. I'm really excited for her to start actually tomorrow. She starts tomorrow, and her and I are gonna be a team selling the product to every possible e-commerce company out there. That's like the next step right now. It's really just about scaling. We're, like I said, in 4 different continents, but we're focusing now, Australia is hard because of the time change. We're focusing on North America, which is the largest e-commerce market in the world. And we're pounding pavement. We're getting out there, calling people, emailing, getting referrals. And we're all about growth right now. We have a winning product. It pays for itself. So something I didn't mention before is that we actually have a revenue guarantee. So we charge about $529 a month for our product. If it doesn't generate at least $529 within the first 7 days of installing it, they get it for free. No cost, they get their money back. I can give you one example. We were working with a fashion and apparel company here in Canada. They installed the software. We were on their onboarding call. So that's where Adam and I would be teaching them how to use the software, like their marketing team. And one of the revenue opportunities pops up. So the way that we have it is there's a page and it shows you like all the possibilities for your business with these direct instructions. And at the time it said, focus on this product. And we were speaking to them like, oh, why that product? Because the way that it works is Birdseye detected this product's going to be selling really well over the next couple weeks. Like you haven't sold much of it in the past week, but the next 2-3 weeks are going to be selling really, really well. This is what your customers want. This category of collection or this category of clothing. This is what you have to focus on. While we're on the call, took about 3 minutes. They opened up Klaviyo, which is like the email marketing platform. Have you heard of MailChimp?
I've heard of MailChimp, yeah.
So Klaviyo is like the MailChimp, but for e-commerce, like one of the most common platforms that an e-commerce business would use. They open it up while we're on the call. They're screen sharing. They go, okay, let's try this out. Let's put Birdseye to the test. They took their product image, put in the email, blasted it to their customer base. We checked back with them the next morning. They done thousands in sales.
That's crazy.
They had so many different products, Ryan, that they didn't know in that moment or that day which one to focus on. And you can't email your list. You can't email people every single day as a brand. You only get a few shots a week. So make sure it's the right one. So that's what Birdseye did. Thousands in sales.
That's incredible.
They've been a customer now for about 5 months.
That's crazy. That's like not only that they did sales, but that you've developed a company that has designed that sort of marketing strategy and it's paid off and it's worked. That's amazing.
Absolutely. And they're fortunate because that going back to the problem, like they don't know what to focus on every week. They're the ones packing all the orders, speaking to the customers, importing the products. Like there's lead time when you're manufacturing overseas. You don't just get the product overnight. So you have to really manage your inventory. And they had employees that they were managing a ton of stuff going on. So you're like, okay, we know to focus on this collection or product, and we know what to post about on our socials. And we know exactly who to target because there's so much waste in advertising. So somebody sets up a Facebook campaign or a Google campaign, they might send it to the wrong people. Right. So we're saving businesses money by helping them know exactly who they should target. It gives them male or female. Where do these customers live? Like it tells you exactly how to target who's going to buy it, who we're predicting is going to buy our product. So it takes all the guesswork out. It saves them money and, helps them make more money at the same time. So that's a net benefit.
Yeah, well, hopefully Birdseye grows to thousands of people working in the company. And
that's the plan.
In the future. And, Matt, thanks for coming on. That was honestly a great conversation.
Thanks for having me. This was really fun.
Yeah, where can people find the company online? Drop the handle.
So our URL would be birdseyeglobal.com or reach out to me, Matt Bogoroch on LinkedIn, and get you started.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Well, again, thanks, Matt. Really appreciate it. It was a great chat, and we'll see everybody next week.
Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks. Take care.